Yeah.
It's like an old Harley.
Okay, we're still travelling in Tasmania, but the last couple of 100 kilometres I've had this really horrible noise at high speed, travelling in 4th and 5th, and it's been identified as a Diff. So stay tuned in this video to see how I fix it. Okay. Alright, so the Diff has been making some noise. I thought it was in the transmission somewhere, but I identified it down to the Diff, so I've pulled the tail shaft off, and you can see there's all this movement in here. Like a bearing's failed in there. That's got up and down, backwards and forwards, and the seal started to leak. You can see there's oil starting to spray out, so it's gonna have to come out. So we're in rural Tasmania. I'm gonna change the Diff, fix the Diff. Let's see how we go. I've made this jig up. I'll get it set up, and we're gonna, because that Diff center there weighs 70 kilos, quite a handful. So I've made this jig up on the jack, and I'm going to attach that, and that's going to make it possible for me to pull this center out safely. Let's see what happens. Okay, I'm going to get this oil out. So alright, it's going to go finger tight. Let's go to okay. Alright, yeah, look at all that. That's a lot of metal on the top of that magnet there. Yeah, look at that. That's metal. Shavings, which is preferable to chunks for sure. Just take the axle out. That there, a little bit more juice coming out of it because we're on a bit of a slope this direction. There we go. All right, that's free of the Diff. Okay, so this is free to come out now, so I can give this a go, see if I get the majority of these nuts off. That's going to be a pain in the bum because that's spot on size. I might just go my imperial size so they come off easier. Anyone that has a Land Rover will know what this tool is, and it actually works quite well on this for the universal joints and the bolts on the Diff. It's a 916 extension for getting into the uni joints on the Land Rover Diff. Okay, so I've modified this trolley jack with, it's very hard to manoeuvre under here. This trolley jack has been modified to have a bracket that'll harness the Diff, because that Diff weighing is what it does. It's going to be very difficult to manoeuvre this vehicle. So this here is my, that's a Barbie plate off my bush pig, and it's the only bit of steel I could find. There was nothing else lying around the farm, so I've
drilled it to suit the flange. I wonder if those bolts will do to jack it off. Yeah, they will too. Look at that. I was wondering how I was going to jack that off. There's the flange bolts will do as jacking bolts as well, I think. Maybe. Maybe not. I'm going to clean those threads out a bit. But anyway, this is going to fit onto that flange. It's going to support the diff when I lift it. And then hopefully I can just pull the whole thing out as an assembly on the trolley jack. Okay, I've just jacked off the centre flange. All the nuts, all the bolts, nuts are out. I've jacked off the centre flange. It's bolted to the jack. And let's just see if I have any success getting it off. Alright, what's stopping me over here? No, everything looks clear there. Okay. Alright, I think I might have it. Let's give it another tug, see if she comes out. Here she comes. There she is. Goody. All right. I think that was a bit of a success. That so there it is. That's the Diff adaptation jack. This would not be possible without this trolley jack, but that worked out well. So I just bolted onto the flange, put a little spacer, clamped it up tight, put a timber spacer under there. All right, we'll get it out onto the bench and have a look at it. That went pretty much to plan. There she is.
Oh wow.
That'd be the monster. That is huge. Alright, next job, get it down to the workshop. Okay, well the diff failed while we were touring around Tassie. It was still drivable, just getting very noisy, and I could feel it getting worse. A lot of metal in the oil and on the magnetic drain plug. So you saw I've got the diff out, and I had to shoot into Hobart to get specialty tools needed for the job. So I've had to outlay for pullers, dial gauges, and a couple of sockets I didn't have. And now I'm going to strip it down and work out what bearings I'm going to need to get this job done. So we've got a couple of weeks here looking after this farm, and they'll hopefully give me the time to get all this sorted out. But I think I've got it at the right time. The crown wheel and pinion doesn't look too bad, and the bearings, even though they haven't failed, these bearings here on the side bearings, they look very scuffed from the bad oil, so I'm gonna have to replace them. So we'll get this pinion out now and I'll have a look at that. Right. Let's hope this grips it. I've got the clamp on there to stop the pinion from spinning. Let's see if this undoes it. Alright, we've got this right now. Okay. There it is. Okay. this seal face, because that was leaking after the failure. That looks a good nick. All right, let's see if this pinion. Set up some, knock that word. She is, and there is the failed bearing, or one of them. Look at that, that's in pretty poor shape. That's where all my metal filings were coming from, so I'm guessing that was the original culprit, that bearing. Let's see if I can get some more light on it. There we go, spotlight on it. Yeah. It's a bit crunchy. But yeah, you can see those needles on the taper there are all fractured. Okay, and now if I get this seal out in here, I can have a look at the inner bearing in there, but I think that one's gone as well. Alrighty, that's good. I'll get these bearings off. Well, having a look at that pinion, I think I'm very lucky. There's very little wear on that. If I'd kept on driving, which I was planning on, and maybe fixing up when I got back to mainland Australia, that probably would have failed, and they're a bit of a rarity now, getting hold of these. Alright, I think that got it. Nearly. Tap on this side. Okay, got it all out. Right, so in here we've got our shim spacer, our seal, and our pinion spacer, final drive spacer, and this is very important to hang on to this one, because that's probably the original one I'm going to put back in with the new bearings, and hopefully we get it right. So this is the front final drive bearing. That actually looks in pretty good nick. So it's the rear final drive bearing was the one that failed. That one actually looks in really good nick. There you go. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, I can identify all 4 bearings and the seal in the housing. So I'm going to find the part numbers and I'll put them up on the screen so anyone doing this job can have the foresight, which I didn't have, of having all the parts on hand. So I purchased the Toledo puller set, got it on special for $2.99 from Total Tools, and that's got everything in it I need to do this job. Other specialty tools was race inserter puller seal, inserter puller tool, which is very handy for getting those seals and races back in properly. A magnetic base, a dial gauge, which is a metric dial gauge, and a vernier, set of vernier calipers. So those tools, along with what I had in the truck, hopefully should get this thing apart and back together again. All up on tools so far, just about $800. So pretty happy with that. All right, let's see if I can get this off. So this was always going to be the challenge I knew. This bearing here on the back of the pinion is the most difficult one to get to, and you do need this specialty tool. to get on there and divide it and get it pulled off. So tighten this up onto that. All these tools I've just purchased, I've actually got them all in my workshop. But that's in Darwin and we're in Tasmania, so I don't think I could get any further away from my workshop. But what I'll have to do is at the end of this is probably just box them all up and ship them all back home. And that way they're ready to ship out. I don't know why this bearing failed. This diff's probably only just done 100,000 kilometres from new. There's no signs of wear on any of the splines. Here we go, she's off. Yeah, there's no signs of wear on the splines or anything that you would think would lead to the failure. That just paid for itself, because that would have been an impossible task without that tool and in this workshop, which is basically just a back shed on a farm, which is mainly just got tools for fencing. That looks in pretty good nick. There's no signs of wear anywhere on the spline. The pinion looks, I mean, it's got some marks on it, but it's not worn or damaged. I think it's recoverable well and truly. So I'll be reusing that, setting it up. And again, that's the failed bearing there. You can see the marks on it. I'll see if I can get it out in a bit of better light where you can actually see it. Yeah, look at that. That's in pretty poor shape. Alright, we'll get the other side out. It's the spacer. Right, I've got to get that out and keep the spacer. There we go. So that's the spacer ring to get the pinion height right. I'll have to doctor that out or measure it with the vernier and try to find an equivalent one for it. It should dolly up. We'll see how we go. Finding the original parts for this is going to be a tedious and time consuming job. That's the, oh yeah, look at that. So it looks to me the main cause of this problem is right there. There's some, I don't know what that's caused by. It's just one spot on the race where it's chatted away. It's almost like it's been sitting. I mean, this truck sat for nearly 10 years without any use. I'm wondering if that's where that damage came from. Okay, just come back from Hobart and I've picked up the bearings from the supplier. Apparently they are the same part numbers, but they're a different brand, so I'm just gonna, well actually that one's a Koyo, so it's probably identical to what I got, but I'm just gonna double check dimensions with what I've purchased to what I have. I'm just gonna compare. Okay, I don't have a press to press this back onto the crown wheel carrier. So I'm going to try using my induction cooktop out of the truck to heat the bearing up. Should work. Can't see any reason why not. So what I'm going to do, I've got my laser thermometer. So we've got 21 degrees now on that. So if I just check the dimensions of it, 21 degrees. And it is 60.2, so that's 60.2 millimeters. You'll heat it up 100 degrees over and see what it changes to. Okay, that was a fail. It wouldn't work without the actual whole surface covered, so I've grabbed the fry pan and it's coming up real quick. So that's already at, the pan's at 100. The bearing's probably a bit cooler, but it's heating up. So the pan's at 120, 130, 145. The bearing's warming up quite nicely. I'll just let it cook there for a bit. Okay, that only took like a couple of minutes, if that. So I'm just gonna, it's already about a 130, 140, which is past where I wanted it, so that's cool. I'm gonna take that off. This is only an experimental one. This is not actually the new bearing. I'm just trying it. So, I mean, I was thinking about, you could probably use an oven as well if you wanted to, if it was hot. Let's see how much she's expanded. Yeah, that's gone up about 1/10 of a mil in size, which is probably going to be enough to get it in. Alright, I think that could be a success. So, it just started raining outside. I'm going to set this up so we can watch it. Get this cleaned up. I'm not going to actually bath the whole thing because it's got the limited slip mechanism inside, so I'm just going to wet some rags. I've got it on a wet some rags with some degreaser, start cleaning it up. So that's the LSD limited slip mechanism in the middle. Cleaned up with a bit of 400 wet and dry. Make sure they're all clean. Well, that went straight on, but it hadn't started recording. So that was heated up to about 120 Celsius and it just popped straight on. So I'm very happy with that. Let it cool for a bit. That went straight home. Alright, fresh from the kitchen. There's the bearing. She's about 120 Celsius. She's right to go straight on. Pick her up, she's the right orientation. Oop. No. There we go. Sometimes that's necessary. Good as gold. She just bound up a little bit there, but that's it, she's on. Let that cool, and we're ready to fit the pinion bearing. I've actually just put the cup for that in the freezer because I'm going to try to insert that in to the diff housing with it being frozen. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, I fitted up that pinion and I've torqued it up. Put a bit of oil on it, torqued it up. There's no seal in there yet, and I've just got this spring scale which I can't read the scales on, but I've just tested it with a bucket of water, and the spec I'm looking for is 5 kilos at 4 centimeters or 20 kilos at 1 centimeter. So we're at 4 centimeters there. Well, so I should get 5. Looking for 5. Okay, that's a bit over, but you know what? I can't do anything about it because I haven't got any more shims. But I think it'll be okay with new bearings. That was about 8 kilos, so it's a little bit over. But brand new bearings, feels pretty good. Reassemble the crown onto the crown wheel onto the carriers there. So the procedure for doing this is I've got to sit the bearings on and sit it in place, sit the cups on. That's how it's going to end up. It's very heavy. I don't know how I'm going to manage that without losing a finger. The manual says use an overhead crane. Yep, got one of them. I'm going to need a little dribble of oil on these bearings, so we're not going at it. So they're just right, so dribble. Right, I've put a little bit of bearing on those, a little bit of oil on those bearings, and I'll lower it into the carrier. Whole assembly is like 70 kilos, so it's not an easy one to work on in the workshop like this. All right, the side bearing caps need to be loose, so we do our settings. We'll torque them up later on once we've got our settings right. Just get them down, nipped up. All right, that still gives us freedom to rotate. All right, so sit that one there, free movement. Yep, okay. We'll set up a dial gauge and we'll just start seeing where we're at. Okay, got that set up there, and that's about 0.1 of a mil. The spec is 0.2 to 0.28, so I've got to give that a bit more backlash. So I'll just adjust that and put, you can still see that. Okay, so I just give this one a little tap, loosen it, and then give this one a little tap, tighten it. And we just read that again, see what we get, zero that. Alright, that's pretty close to 0. Right, see that's gone up to 24 now. Backlash, 25. So I'm allowed, so that's, say 24, so 20 to 28, so that's pretty good. So I might just tighten that up there and we'll see what we get as far as teeth meshing goes. Righto, so I haven't got any bearing blue. So what I've done, I've found a bit of grease and I mixed some stamp pad ink, red, it's the only colour I had, and a little tiny touch of degreaser just to emulsify it a bit, and I've made this paste, which I think will do the job. We'll see how we go. I'll just paint that onto the teeth and give it a revolution and see what we get. But homemade indicator. It's not perfect, but it should do the job. I'll get a bit more light on it. Let's put that on both sides and we'll see how we go. All right, we'll give it one test and see what we get. Looking to me like it's touching pretty much in the center. Contacting in the center, getting good contact. We'll do a few more revolutions and see how we look. Alright, so I'm going to paint this on. It's working, the consistency is good. I've just done a test run on it and it looked pretty good. So I'm going to get Shaz to do it with a bit of load on it this time. She's going to crank it. I'll go forwards and backwards and we'll see what our contact face looks like. I'll put a nice coating of dye on it. Okay, and I'll just get a piece of wood. A hammer will do it. Alright, Shaz, you want to crank it?
So you forwards?
Yep. Keep going. So that's forward. Keep going.
Wait.
Keep going. And stop. So that's our forward. And I'll just get the camera down and have a look at that, see how that face looks. So you can see our contact there. Contact is pretty good. It's taking up a lot of the face. That one there looks, that's in the middle. It's off a little bit. Middle, middle, middle. All right, why is that one looking so different? I'll just paint that again and do it again.
This one here's got stuff there too.
You slip on the ass, the wet grass, slippery thongs. Right. Get my breath back. A little bit of pull the axles out. All right. Let's get onto it. Okay. That's it. Silicone in place. Let's get this lump in. Crank it a bit. Just lift it up.
Hang on, I'm going to get under there.
As you twist it again. That looks close all around. Yes. Oh, fuck. That was recording. It's luckily. It's in. She's in, mate. Like a finger in a bum.